What's up, everybody? Josh here from Toaster Chip, and I'm joined by Adnan Riaz and Allan Muir. And today we are talking about the Nintendo NX, or as it's codenamed currently, and just our opinions on what we think the console could actually be, or what it needs to be in order to get Nintendo out of the funk that they seem to be in. Because obviously the Wii U was very disappointing. I don't know, Adnan, I don't know that do you own one? Because I don't own one.
Nope.
Allan?
Nope.
I own one.
You own one? Okay. I know I've played it a bunch, you know, as a console, and I think it has some like really awesome games on it. Like Splatoon is awesome, Mario Kart's awesome.
Zombie U.
I didn't play that.
It's good.
Okay. You're one of those believers. Like Zombie U. But I feel like at least with the Wii U, like the gamepad almost felt like people love the 3DS, so let's do that with a TV. It's almost what I feel like they tried to do, but then in the end, the gamepad just didn't pan out, and it wasn't fun to use, and it's kind of a crappy controller, honestly. Like what do they have to do, like Nintendo, for this console? What does it have to be in your mind?
They need to regain the trust of the third-party developers.
Well, how do you think
publishers?
The only way I see them doing that is by like creating a more powerful console that they could actually port their games to.
Yeah.
Well, AMD is making the CPU for it.
Haven't they always done that though? It's usually always NVIDIA or AMD.
If this console doesn't have Blu-ray discs, then no chance. It's a simple fact because it's just going to cause even more hassle for them.
Right. To
develop on Blu-ray discs. It's because literally by side-by-side comparison, Xbox and PlayStation are almost the exact same thing.
Basically.
To develop them. So that's why developers will focus on these instead.
Yeah.
They won't get third-party back unless they really do revamp the console, make it pricey, get kind of up their game. One thing I'd hope I don't see is this hybrid fucking console people keep going on about.
See, I want that.
No, because marketing and money-wise, it is complete suicide. Because they're already dominating the handheld, and if you turn it into a fusion with a home market console, they're alienating even more. Because some people just literally want a home console. But I do not want to pick up the NX and take it out with me. I want it to be a home console specifically. Because if it's a fusion between a handheld and a console, you're going to even weaken the power of it as well a bit more, because it's not going to be like the PS Vita, which has power in it,
right?
And even then it's still not as powerful as the PS4. If you do a fusion between the consoles, you're really putting yourself in a position where it's going to be so hot. The thing is as well, with that as well, if it's a fusion, Nintendo are shit at marketing, and they're not going to sell the right idea. People probably just think it's the sequel to the Wii U, or like a slimline Wii U or something like that, because they're just not very clear with their instructions of what they're making. So I just don't think it's a good idea to do a hybrid. The 3DS is doing well. Keep the hand. If anything, what they want to do is what PlayStation failed to do, and is use remote play effectively. Like the PlayStation Vita remote play and the PS4 one is so great, but then it's just kind of baffling how Sony let it sink. Because I thought that was going to be what propelled the Vita.
Yeah.
It's like a kind of a huge success, and they just kind of collapsed.
Yeah, it's weird because the Vita actually sold decently. It just, there's nothing really on it. Like, no one really cares to develop for it. And, people just don't really see returns. The only people really seeing returns on the Vita are, indie studios. So, it's basically become this indie machine. And Sony doesn't even want to develop games for it seems like, anymore.
They mentioned it for, 2 minutes at E3, which is
oh yeah, there's still a thing. It's called the Vita. But, at least with Nintendo, I see where you're coming from. The whole thing that I want is, people have been complaining for years that, there's no connectivity between, the 3DS and the Wii U, and there's no, shared purchases. So if I buy Super Mario Brothers on, my 3DS Virtual Console, for some reason I can't play it on my Wii U unless I buy it again. There's no, cross-save between, I can't take my Link to the Past save between my 3DS and my Wii U, which is it's honestly a no-brainer, why you should be able to do that kind of stuff. And I know that's tiny, and that's not we're gonna win the console war with this kind of thing, but it's just something that like I think about if I ever wanted to buy a Wii U. I'm like, I want one, but at the same time, it's like there's all these little things, you know. There's all these little things that add up to one big thing that kind of makes it not as attractive in a way. I personally, I would kind of want the hybrid console only because of mainly like that. I don't really care about Nintendo's specs. I honestly would not even play third-party games on a Nintendo console, and the only reason is because like what's the point, you know? What am I getting out of playing it on the This is like when the Wii U was coming out and they're like, we have Assassin's Creed and Darksiders 2. I'm like, okay, but what am I getting out of playing it there instead of just playing it on my shiny new PS4 that's like super powerful? You can actually run these games well. Huh?
I can say the same thing. There's really nothing that lured me to playing a third-party title on the Wii U.
Yeah, it's not like they've changed the game in any way. They just made it so that it runs on it, and it runs pretty poorly most of the time. Like the Mass Effect 3 port was supposed to be pretty bad. I think Nintendo's at this point where they just don't care about third parties, and they probably don't need most third parties. The reason they would want to make the console more powerful in general is to just get third parties on board to maybe develop exclusives, but at this point I feel like Nintendo knows what they want and what they need. And honestly, we're still waiting on their like phone games. They've only released one. They released Pokemon Puzzle League on the phone, which is like a match 3 game or whatever.
Their biggest problem is that the online is terrible for Wii U. And most third-party publisher games are based heavily on multiplayer. The Call of Duties, the FIFAs, the NHL, stuff like that. All of it's very competitive and multiplayer. And when you have a bad online service, like, I mean, by no means is Xbox Live or PSN perfection, but it's improving. Like, you know, you have Games of Gold, you have PS Plus, the fact that they just are reliable services that you can play with people online. It's changing, the market's changing. Nintendo's not changing, that's the difference. Yeah, they've embraced the phone market 10 years late.
Like, hashtag better PSN.
Maybe if they would have caught the like, you know, the storm of the mobile market at the time, then it would have worked well. But at this point, they already have a handheld console that they're already focusing on. Mobile just seems a bit irrelevant. And then the fact is that they just need to revamp a console and work from the ground up. I think you need third party. I think it's detrimental to cut third party support. Regardless of how good your first party is, like, you need third party support because it's a big seller. You have to remember there is a huge market of gamers out there. Most of which don't really care about first-party games. They're more interested about the third-party. Mm-hmm. Well, look at how much they probably missed out on GTA 5 not being on Wii U. GTA 5 sold a billion, like, was it 1 billion copies on the first day or something?
Not a billion copies. That would be the...
Sorry.
Yeah, 1 in 7 people on the face of the earth owns Grand Theft Auto. No, they made $1 billion like in the first 24 or 48 hours, something like that.
Yeah, they made $1 billion, so assume how many copies it sold, and that's all on Xbox and PlayStation.
Yeah, and then the PC one came out later, probably sold a bunch more. So,
yeah,
I don't know. I just feel like Nintendo, for the most part, it's weird because their games are so good, but they're like stranded on this island, sort of, which is a shame because every time I go to a friend's house and I play like Mario Kart with people or I play something on the Wii U, I have so much fun. I'm like, God damn, I miss Nintendo games. But it's like, it's not worth it, like picking up this box that I barely play, you know? Just so I can play Splatoon, and it saddens me because Mario Maker looks fucking amazing, and I want to play it so bad, but I'm not gonna buy a Wii U for Mario Maker, you know?
No.
And I'm not, and I
need to.
It just, yeah.
They need to make a normal fucking controller as well and get away from this motion control bullshit and stuff. It's predating now. Like, it had its novelty and its time. Now it's just done with.
Yeah, no one cares.
Revert back to a normal type. I think that with Iwata being gone now, I think that now it's kind of a big step for Nintendo to take control and like kind of revamp the company. Because they have been in a very big turmoil state in the last few years. Granted, they are making profits from stuff like amiibos, but hardware sales are a huge factor, and when they're not making the profit back on that, it's kind of irrelevant making games for it.
Yeah. I think amiibos are cool, but the way they're handled is kind of like whatever. But and also their functionality is pretty boring, to be honest. Like I own two amiibos. All right, I own a Donkey Kong and a Diddy Kong. The only reason I bought them is because I fucking love Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong. Right, Donkey Kong Country is like one of my favorite games ever. So. And then there are a couple of other amiibos, like I want a Villager, I want a Pac-Man, and I want an Olimar, and then after that I'm basically done, because those are all like my favorite Nintendo characters. But I took them over to my friend's house, because he has a Wii U, and we were both like, oh, I don't even know what these things do, and we were putting them on like Smash Brothers and Mario Kart and stuff, and it's kind of lame. Like in Mario Kart you just unlock costumes, so it's like, oh, I paid $12 to unlock this like Donkey Kong suit for my Mii. You're like, okay, and then you put it on Smash Brothers, and it's just like this gigantic menu of stats, and you're like, you're like, what is this? Like, I don't even know what this is. It's like
Nintendo needs to get its house in order.
Yeah, they need to get their house in order. I just think like amiibos would be much more interesting if they had some sort of functionality, like if there was a game that took advantage of it. Like imagine if Mario Maker worked with it, and every character you put on in Mario Maker like had like a tile set with it, and their own like character sprite. So like if I put my Donkey Kong one in Mario, like down on Mario Maker, I get to be Donkey Kong, and then there's like a Donkey Kong tile set, and maybe there's a bunch of levels that I couldn't access before that now I can access. Like that's the kind of functionality that's cool, that makes sense. But what they're doing with them is like honestly really boring, and the only reason people are buying them is because they look cool. You know, that's the only reason I bought them, because they look cool. You know. But
they should have just been sold as figures. There's no point with the fucking cross Wii U stuff they've done.
Honestly, I don't think they would have done as well if they were just figures. I think the reason people want them so bad is because they're, you know, there is some sort of function. Because gamers like would not care one bit if it was just little figures. They'd be like, oh, I'll buy like one of these, and then that's cool, you know. But the reason that people buy them is because they like function with the games. I think everyone's sort of waiting for like something to, you know, they're waiting for some kind of game. But I mean, back to the point. At least for the NX, I honestly, if it's not some sort of like cross game thing with the 3DS, if it's not some sort of better service for a brighter tomorrow, I honestly don't know. I don't even think Nintendo should, even if, I don't even think Nintendo should be making hardware anymore, to be honest. I think they should just license out their games, because I honestly would definitely rather play like Mario Kart on my PS4 or my PC, and I'd definitely rather play Mario Maker on a PC where that game could thrive, you know. And I don't know. That's just me.
Well, they're not down and out though. That's the entire point. They're not like Sega, who should have like licensed their game out 5 years before they went down and under, because they were in like an absolute financial disaster of a mess.
They were basically a flash in the pan, which is funny.
Yeah, and now it's quite ironic as well, because if you look at the state of them now, they're nowhere near any better being just you know, game developers or anything else. I don't think they need to license the games out or anything. I think that what they just don't seem to understand, I just like feel like going into the office and like just stamping eyes that you're alienating yourself too much by being, you know, the hipster of the gaming industry, and people don't really like hipsters anymore. Like I agree that with like.
I thought nobody liked hipsters to begin with.
Well, hipsters like hipsters. No, but I mean, like when Iwata did the kind of like his kind of genius was the fact that the Wii was in almost every home across, like, you know, America. People who didn't even want to play games consoles and stuff, they had a Wii in their house. And it's unbelievable. I kind of like think back on it now. I'm like, that was great marketing stuff. But obviously the novelty wore off on that, and they kind of never really reinstated the kind of market they have. Well, they reinstated their like position in the market with all the people they lost. But I mean, the fact of the matter is that they just need to kind of look at what PlayStation and Xbox are doing, replicate a console on a similar kind of level in terms of like hard. Because let's just put it straight, the graphics in the Wii U look shit. When you look at the game, you're just there like.
I would say when it's a third-party game, that's the case. But when Nintendo develops their games, I think the Nintendo games look really good.
I don't think they compare anywhere near something like Uncharted 4.
Well, no, but it's art style, right? Like
yeah, but it's the power of the kind of engines and stuff they're using in their software. Like Kojima Productions built the Fox engine for 4 years using current generation software and stuff. It's built to use that engine. There's so much money that's been pumped into that engine. Like the games look, it's literally imitating art, like art imitating real life. Because it just makes you look at it and you're like, oh my god, look at these fucking character models. It's unbelievable. Same with the Uncharted engine. They must have been working on that for fucking ages. Perfecting it and twisting it and whatever else they were doing. When you look at Nintendo games and the characters are just walking around and like fucking... I mean, like, I kind of remember, like, I love, like, Pokemon games on the handheld, but when I look at them now and they're fucking pixelated, and, like, the characters are just, like, walking around, like, I'm like, oh my god, like, how outdated is this? I mean, granted, graphics aren't, like, the most important thing in the world, but it shows that they are a dated company.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll at least give you this. I think 3DS games look really bad. They just look pixely and gross. I think Wii U games, specifically like Mario Kart and stuff, I think they're actually like really beautiful and they run really well and the art style is fantastic. Like Mario Kart 8 is going to look amazing 10 years from now. Whereas when you look at something like Uncharted 3, it doesn't look as good as we thought it looked back then. Like when you look at it,
Well, that's the evolution though of like the game though. You can tell it's an evolution. It's better for that reason. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, Nintendo system games do hold up to them, but they don't really, like, blow my mind. When I saw Uncharted 2, and I was like, holy fucking shit. And then I saw Uncharted 4, I was like, that's not real. And then you see the character model, and you're like, what? Like, that is like, kind of blows your mind. When I see a Nintendo game, and I see Zelda, I'm like, okay. Like,
yeah, but...
I could see that in another game.
Yeah, like, but that's like different. Like, they're not... There's a point, right? Cell shading has basically reached its apex, right? It looks like a cartoon.
Yeah.
You can't get really any better than that, to be honest. Like, it's there, So it's gonna look like that. And obviously, yeah, I get what you're saying. It's like underwhelming, I guess, but it's still beautiful. Like they know how to use their hardware. They make amazing games. It's just like there's this they're not doing what people like want them to do. They're kind of stuck in the past, and I feel like they're stubborn. Like they're like, we don't want better online because we don't think gaming is gonna be popular. And then it's like, oh, it is. Well, fuck, we better shoehorn it in. And then it's like, oh, we think HD is a fad. And then it's like, oh, it's not actually a fad.
The hipsters.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, like, they are very out of touch now. They just need to understand what the market's going, and it's going in a completely opposite direction from what Nintendo is. The stuff like Reggie said, like at E3 about like Morpheus and stuff, I'm like, you are out of your damn mind.
Yeah, that was really stupid. I
was like, are you kidding me? And it's kind of like hypocritical as well, because when they were the company trying to boast like motion sensor shit forward and like whatever else, it's kind of funny. They're like, oh, VR's not the future or anything else. Maybe it's not, but it's still kind of like pushing something different.
I know, I've used VR. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to just be like, try to be pessimistic. But, like, I think that they do need to just overhaul everything. I think they just need to get, like, a proper exec in and just kind of, like, look at things. Even if they have to delay the NX, just build it to be a proper console. Because there's so much bullshit when they were like, oh, the Wii U didn't come out properly and that's why we can't do this and we can't do that. I was like, oh my god, that's the most pathetic thing I've ever seen. Like, a company comes out and starts slandering their own product because they can't use it properly. Like, I mean, Sony had a PlayStation 3 that was $600, and they kind of made it work to be the best-selling console of last generation. Was it last generation?
Yeah. Well, it was like pretty much like it eventually caught up to the 360.
That's what I mean. Like, it just it overtook it, and they got like the kind of formula right. Nintendo needs to do that. They're not going to win people back. I'm not going to go back to fucking Nintendo unless they build something out of it where I know I can play third-party games with first-party. Third-party is a big part. When you lose it, you might as well just like start packing your bags up.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a tricky question. Well, we'll find out next year. Anyway, that's it for this video. Stay tuned for the credits, where you can watch some of our other videos, and of course, relevant links for following and stuff is in the description. Bye now.